right, folks. Thanks for coming. My name's Dave Hodge. I'm the president of Zimtu Capital Corp, your host today. This is one of Zimtu's new initiatives to help show the diversity of an investment in Zimtu. And the top two circles, the one on the right represents the companies that we own part of as represented by the number of shares. And the top circle on the left represents the companies that we own a piece of represented by their dollar value. Thanks to Emerita, our dollar value in Emerita has gone up dramatically. That wasn't without a fair amount of work by David Gower and a fair amount of hanging in there for years while he got things sorted out. But pretty exciting, the result of that. The bottom circle represents kind of the opportunity in Zimtu, and those are some of the private companies that we're working on taking public. And one of them is SWMBRD, the other one Eagle Bay. The others would be investments in maybe properties or, but they're smaller investments that we hope will grow into something bigger. Anyways, you didn't come here just to listen to me. We came here to be able to ask questions. The way this will work is if you have submitted a question already, Colton will read that question out and direct it to the appropriate person for an answer. If you have a question at any time,
so you can put it in the chat function, as always, or you can raise your hand and we'll notice you and unmute you so you can just ask it live as well. And we do encourage live questions. Just a couple of other introductions. We have Stefan Bogner on the line from Switzerland. Stefan writes Rockstone Research and has written on most of our companies. Stefan, maybe you could just say a few words, particular to our German audience.
Yes, thanks, Dave. Schönen guten Abend an alle Deutschsprachigen. Schön, dass ihr heute auch mit dabei seid. Wenn ihr irgendeine Frage habt, dann könnt ihr die gerne auch auf Deutsch stellen, hier in dem Chat, und dann übersetze ich die aufs Englische und dann kommen wir auch so weiter. Thanks.
Yeah, like he said. Anyway, we have, as we expand our marketing efforts, we have another new employee that I'd like to introduce. Her name is Alicia Voss, and she will say a few words both in English and German.
Thank you, Dave. I hope everyone can see me here and that I've already spoken to a few of you. For those of you that I haven't spoken to, my background is in economics and environmental science. And I'm here to really just be the first point of contact for all of you with any questions just in regards to Zimtu's holdings, public or private. I'll be able to answer those questions directly. My contact information is going to be on the website, and feel free to reach out anytime. Jetzt noch mal kurz auf Deutsch. Ich heiße Alicia und freue mich sehr, als Investor Relations Spezialisten anzufangen bei Zimtu. Ich habe hoffentlich schon mit ein paar von Ihnen gesprochen. Wenn nicht, mein Hintergrund ist in Wirtschaft und Umweltwissenschaften. Ich bin für Sie den ersten Punkt von Kontakt. Wenn Sie irgendwelche Fragen haben, können Sie die direkt an mich wenden über Zimtu oder die Firmen. Meine Kontaktdetails sind auf der Webseite und Sie können mich jederzeit so erreichen.
Thanks, Alicia.
Just a public service announcement. We will have another Zoom with Zimtu meeting in a couple of weeks that will be preceded by a presentation from Fundamental Research on battery metals, followed up by some brief words from each of the companies that are involved in the battery metal space. And we take a fairly broad understanding of battery metals because it is going to put a commodity squeeze on quite a number of commodities, not just lithium and cobalt, but all kinds of rare earths and copper and don't worry, I was going to say fluorspar.
So I've got lithium properties too.
Oh, anyways, we'll move on here, and I'll sort of turn the floor over to Colton, who will deal with some of the questions that we've received either online earlier or on the Zoom function.
Okay, let's get started. So first question is going to be for Pontus Protein. So Connor, first one we have here is, where can I buy Pontus plant protein?
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. You can call me whatever you want. But yeah, so right now we're in like full-fledged construction at the facility. I would love to, the next time I'm here, I'll bring you guys like an update video that I can be able to play for everybody so you can see how quickly we're coming along. I've only been under construction for about 6.5 weeks now, but we're shooting to be finished and in full production by the end of November. And immediately, we're already currently working on our e-commerce website right now. Immediately you'll be able to purchase the product online on our own store. And then as well, we're in conversations with a handful of different retailers right now as to which one that we plan to go with first. Because we only have a 20,000 square foot facility, my assumption is that with just one retail store, that's going to handle the majority of our offtake if it's a bigger one. So immediately it will be online, and then we'll keep you guys updated as we lock down those purchase orders, but should be by the end of the year.
Cool. Second question here we got in was, the last news regarding the Surrey farm facility was before July 6th. What can you tell us about how that work is progressing?
Great, yeah. So basically we've installed all of the insulation, the drywall is going in. We put up a wall between where the fish tanks are going to be and where the actual plant growing is going to happen. They're currently digging up all of the ground right now. So there's, tons of cement being chalked up and put all over the place, but it's coming together very quickly. We're really impressed with how fast ice is actually moving and how quickly they're getting, and even the entire HVAC system is nearly installed as well, even over a short time of 6 weeks. So yeah, we're thinking by end of fall, beginning of winter, we should be up and operational.
All right, and the last one here, what's the plan for the 60,000 square foot facility and where will it be located?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll just explain this in a little bit of detail for everybody, just so you guys understand. Our main priority right now was getting this first 20,000 square foot facility up, demonstrating our ability to be able to scale this technology, because that was one of the biggest things when it comes to aquaponics, is people's belief as to whether or not it can be commercial and scalable. We know that we're going to be able to do it, but we got to also be able to reconfirm that to the market. But as we get to about a 60% offtake in this facility, we would be looking to move towards immediately starting to build the 62,000 square foot facility. We would generally, by staying in Canada, would like to do it somewhere with more sun than Vancouver, to give us the ability to be able to run as much of that facility off solar power as possible. Although we do have something really, really phenomenal in the works right now. I've been working with a group out of Nevada who plans on helping us be able to expand much more quickly than even waiting for us to be able to build our own facility. But we have a group out of Nevada extremely interested in helping us be able to put up the entire CapEx for a 62,000 square foot facility about an hour outside of Reno, Nevada. And they would put up all of the money for that, and we would come in with the technology facility, the know-how, and helping them sell that product in the States. And we would retain a 30% net royalty on that facility. So by moving towards a definitive agreement, which we're trying to do currently at this time, by locking that facility down, even just by having this joint venture with this group out of the States, that 30% would pretty much dwarf the revenue that we currently have in our 20,000 square foot facility. But the thing that I love about it the most is we're going to be able to make that happen with zero dilution.
Great. Okay, that's awesome. It doesn't look like we've had any chats come in right this second, but we'll manage it if we do. Otherwise, we'll move on here. We have received a couple questions. I have a couple for David Gower, and I think we'll just wait just a minute to answer those ones. We'll go in for James here for Aries. So this is from Rupert. What is the state of the play with the lumps plant? Physically, where is it and when will it be up and running? Also, when will the transfer to the CSE be completed? Lastly, you want me to wait?
What, and do one at a time?
Yeah, I can do one at a time.
Should we start with the lumps plant?
Let's do the lumps
Okay,
plant.
all
Yeah.
right. Okay. Hi, Rupert. So with the lumps plant, it's now, as you know, it's all paid for and the construction of that is completed. Unfortunately, we are victim of the international shipping backlog. So it's sitting in port at the moment waiting for shipping. But while that's going on at site at the moment, we've got all the engineers down there upgrading the utilities, cementing the place over, installing the infrastructure upgrades. We're going to buy some additional industrial land as well. But we're really, and all of that is going to coincide with the arrival of the lumps plant. But yeah, that's all paid for, it's all constructed, that's all ready to go. And it's a modular plant too, so that'll ship. When it arrives, we can just pretty much unpack it and plug it in. It's not the only plant though. I think some people can misunderstand that. It's a two process operation where we're going to produce lumps first, and that'll have about a 60% recovery rate. And then the surplus will feed into the flotation plant, which we've already designed as well. So that'll come after the lumps plant.
Okay, and then the second part of that was when will the transfer to the CSE be completed?
So this was annoying because we completed everything for the transfer and we got approval from the CSE to move and the TSX to delist. And then the BCSE went and asked us for a updated 43101 before we were allowed to move. So we've almost finished that now. I mean, the good part is that updated 43101, it's just a copy and paste job really to get that going. So I would like to have that done by this week. We've got all the parts together for that. Once that's done, the BCSE are happy, then we can move. I was actually hoping today to announce more news, but I'm not going to do that till I'm on the CSE. So. Yeah.
Okay, and the last part of the question, are there any remaining non-routine mining issues that are standing between you and revenue?
Non-routine money, yeah. Well, I don't want to badmouth the BCSE or the exchange.
They're listening.
They're listening.
Oh, yes.
Oh, are they? I love them. They're great. No, they've been fair. So non-routine mining issues. Well, on the government support, it's a non-routine mining issue, but we're getting a lot of support out of the US government for this project, just because we're the only fluorspar producer in the country, the only permitted mine there, and so we're closing up a lot of financing with them. Very cheap money we're getting from the government there, so that's a non-dilutive thing too. And that'll cover everything. I'll cover all the manufacturing facilities, rail upgrades, plants, bagging facilities, everything. So it'll even cover expanded operations into other fluorspar properties within the US.
Okay, great. So that's all we've got so far for Aries. Charlie, I see you have your hand raised there. Did you have a question for James?
Yes, I do. So what's the situation with actually a market? Is there any agreements with anybody to actually purchase the product?
Yep. So there's an agreement with ThyssenKrupp. We're putting together an offtake agreement with them. We have a provisional contract in place, and we're just working towards the transactional terms of that offtake. But they're predominantly more interested in lumps. They will take all the assets far, but that's mostly what they're interested in.
Sorry, James, I didn't catch who is the customer?
ThyssenKrupp. They're a big multinational German company.
So would their consumption be in the States or would it be somewhere else in the world then?
I think it's going to be predominantly in the States. The locations they've given us to ship to so far are Houston was the main one. So what they do with it from that point is up to them, but it looks like it will be internally used within the States. The thing with the US market at the moment, Charlie, is that it's importing 100% of this stuff from abroad, and there's a massive shortage of it. So it'd be more work than is necessary to sell all this stuff. The States will eat it all up.
Good, yeah. So we're pretty well assured of a market, like the Mexican market isn't going to be a problem. I mean, the Mexican suppliers.
Yeah. Oh no, well, we don't have too much competition on that front. I mean, there's a 600,000 tons required in the raw product. If you include the high-end final products of fluorspar, you're looking at close to 2 million tons of product. And they're getting 60% out of it from Mexico, but a lot of that stuff will be high arsenic content, high sulfide content, whereas we don't have those deleterious elements in it, so we're preferenced. So for instance, for metallurgical grade, you can't use that stuff in the production of steel manufacture because the arsenic is deleterious for the manufacture of it. That's why ThyssenKrupp is so keen to get hold of our metallurgical lumps.
Okay, say good. Sorry, James, you might have to spell it. The name of the company did you say Thyssen?
That's kind of challenging for me. At least you're really better at this. But
No, I think it's THY.
Okay, THY double S.
Stefan has
No,
put
that's not right either, I don't think.
I think it is.
Oh no, that's right. Sorry, Stefan's right. Yeah.
THYSS?
I think that's correct, but it's one name, one word.
It's in the chat function there if you want to check. Stefan's written it down.
Yeah, but THYSSENKRUPP.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move on to Arctic Star here. So Pat, I think you're there. So as we await a little bit more news from the summer drill program, I think we were waiting the Birch results. What can you tell Arctic Star shareholders? Is there any update?
Yeah, Birch is going to come in the next 2 weeks. We're expecting Alder and Cedar to come together next week. We talked to the lab, Microlithics, who has those two pipes. Birch would have come a long time ago, but we removed it from CF Minerals. They had a client in front of us that was going to take too long, so we shipped to SRC, which is Saskatchewan Research Council. They have that pipe and it's being processed right now, but it's expected in 2 weeks. So next week we can expect both Alder and Cedar together. So it'll be two pipes reported on at once. We could have got partial results. We chatted with them yesterday, as I said, and we choose not to get partial results because it can be very confusing, but it will be processed in our hands next week. So we'll get 2 pipes next week.
Awesome, that's a great update. Thank you. Graham, I see you have your hand up there. I'll let you unmute yourself if you have a question for anybody here.
Yes, indeed I do. The question is for Chris Grove. How are you, Chris?
Let me just make sure I can find him.
There he is.
There he is.
Okay. Yeah, the question for Chris is, are there any more news releases that you haven't made us aware of recently? Because I know that you did write recently, you sent us a news release, I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wondered if there's something else that we should be aware of currently. That's one question. The other question I have, and I don't know who can answer this, is what are you doing in order to try to improve the value of Zimtu shares? Because I don't think that the value of Zimtu shares is fully reflected in the value of the underlying companies. So that's my question.
Yeah, thanks very much, Graham, and I'm doing well. Thanks very much for asking. So on the first question, in terms of news releases we have not yet released, of course, it's inappropriate for me to say too much about that, but there are many programs that are underway right now, and we will report on them as these programs reach a milestone or completion. And of course, I'm referring to the federally funded program run under Natural Resources Canada, NRCan, and CanMet Mining, financed by Canada. And secondly, then the optimization programs financed by the government of Quebec. And we're very fortunate to have both sets of programs underway and focused on the Ashram rare earth element project. In terms of other news, the drill crew that we've got on site that is drilling the Ashram right now, more infill drilling, data for the pre-feas, or actually probably for the bankable feasibility study. That operator is the best drill operator we've ever had on site. I don't want to tell you their name because I don't want anybody else to book them, but the company's name is Logan. They're doing an excellent job. They did an excellent job for Seville, faster, more efficient, more meters, et cetera, and that's the same situation for us on the Ashram. The program was supposed to wrap up, I think, today, but they decided to do an extra day or so. But the program will end fairly shortly, achieving the goal of 2,500 meters. And so we will report on that. Assays for Seville, since Seville's program was finished earlier than ours, those assays will come in before the Ashram assays. But it's the Seville assays that are really the more exciting ones because the Ashrams are just infill. Besides that, of course, we have ongoing work at our pilot plant at Hazen Research in Colorado. And our primary focus there, or my primary focus, is the completion and then the delivery of these samples as requested by industry majors. And to be very specific on these samples, these are going to be chemical concentrates, so a little further downstream processing than the concentrate we produced and delivered to an industry major in March of this year. I am hopeful that we'll have those samples produced and delivered in early September. And then just after that, we should have the assays from this current program on the Ashram. In terms of your second question, I've been with Zimtu for 17 years now, and the underlying value of Zimtu has always basically been below the value of the total value of the equities. And I think for a lot of investors, it's a fairly unique investment opportunity. And I think the more that we get the word on Zimtu out there, that Zimtu has this inherent significant value in their equity holdings, and at the same time providing the investor this benefit of exposure to all of these other different companies, and especially at the earliest stage of these companies, that this will potentially address that imbalance and we'll see a higher value for Zimtu. That has always been my expectation and hope, as we have always been of the mind that Zimtu has huge inherent value for the investor.
Thank you, Chris. I have one other final question for you. I know that the results in the Quebec property look very promising. We have seen the share price of Commerce come down considerably. Is this more related to the summer doldrums and this time of year than anything else, or what are your reflections on that, please?
I think really what happened globally in rare earth elements, and I think a recognition of how hypersensitive anyone who buys rare earth elements are, due to the fact that the market for rare earth elements has been manipulated arguably so many times and to such a significant percentage degree, that what happened in Q1 2021 was spiking rare earth element prices. And because of this hypersensitivity, I think what happened was very normal in human terms. Everybody overbought in Q1, and every purchase led to higher prices. And then the prices hit some high watermark, some nadir, and then everybody had bought enough for a couple of quarters. And so then Q2, the prices fell like a rock and demand was reported to have fallen off a cliff. But, you know, that doesn't actually speak to annualized global demand, which on a compound annual growth rate continues to increase, no question about it. But you had everybody in the rare earth element sector, juniors and majors, hitting their 52-week high mid or late Q1 2021. And then when the prices started falling, everybody's share price fell. And we're just in the mid stream in terms of that fall off in a percentage basis. And so I think it's a much more macro situation that has affected our share price falling. And sure, the summer doldrums could be another factor there. However, to finish it off, the rare earth element prices have been spiking like crazy in Q3. So one of our very trusted associates who I was speaking to yesterday from Iowa was telling me that terbium right now in the price report we get weekly from Beijing, terbium was reported as $1,300 on Monday of this week. But my associate in Iowa told me yesterday that the price that he is hearing is actually $1,500 a kilo for terbium, which is basically the highest terbium has ever been in 10 years. So I do expect from just the simple macro improvement, appreciation of rare earth element prices to see our share price appreciate as well.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate those invaluable insights immensely.
My pleasure.
Okay, we'll move on here, and I'm sure a lot of you are here for David Gower and Emerita. So David, I see you there. Let me just make sure you can unmute yourself. So first question from Doc Jones. Can you comment on the 5 land packages being added to the IBW project via public tender and their possible upside, historical production to the company?
Yeah, okay. So we have expanded the land position around the IBW, the initial public tender there, where we have the 3 deposits. It extends the project. The IBW itself is about an 18 kilometer long claim block. We extended it another 12 kilometers to the west towards the Portugal border, and also picked up more ground around it. There is some historical workings within those new claims. Some with reported very high, relatively small production, kind of a century ago type of production, but still see copper values referenced as high as, 6%, 9%, that sort of thing. I doubt if that's a representative grade, but certainly this is a copper rich system in this area, typically between here and Neves Corvo. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do have a very good copper rich zone there. And particularly the older production tended to focus on the copper rich systems because there really wasn't much of a market for zinc back then. So most of the really older production were focused on copper deposits. The status of the claims, we will get them. It's been confirmed. It's on the government website now that we are the approved bidder for that public tender, and that's basically how things are staked in Spain if they had been held in the past. It's going through the normal bureaucratic process that they go through. We would expect formal awarding of those claims, possibly even in the coming couple of weeks, or certainly by September, I think. We can start to do basic groundwork and geophysical surveys and that type of thing at that time. Before drilling, we have to go through that normal 30-day socialization process that's required in Spain. So it's a very strategic position for us. It does have mineralization on it. The focus will be on IBW itself initially, but this gives us some other targets, and everything is compact enough and close enough that anything that we find on those claims would feed into a central processing facility eventually. So the value of being able to do brownfield expansions, I think, really is important in terms of the potential for anything we find on those claims.
Okay, great. There was another question here from Carl. From what I understand, the Los Frailes, I might be butchering that, mill is still standing. Is there anything within that mill that could be reused or refurbished in the next steps to fast track to production? And then a follow-up on that question is, how's the drilling program going? Are there any expected assay announcements?
Okay, with Los Frailes, the mill, the building is there and it's been repurposed for some sort of recycling facility. And it's not our intention to use that part of the property or anything else really to do with the historical liability, other than possibly the water treatment plant, which also is still there. The mill that was there was very old. It was not built for Los Frailes. There was actually another open pit on the property from the kind of post Second World War area into the 60s for the original Asno-Coyer mine. So very old technology, and it didn't owe anybody any money, that facility. So we would be using a much more modern milling technology, similar to what Trafigura uses at Aguastanitas, and the result of going that route, of course, is you just get much better metallurgical performance all around. So no, the short answer is we wouldn't be using that, and it's not part of our plan. We don't see the mill as being the critical path item anyway. It'd be a very standard sort of process technology that would be used, similar to pretty well every VMS camp in the world right now. In terms of drill results, the drilling is going very well at IBW, that is. And we're targeting to have the first assays finally out by the end of this week. And now that the pump is primed, we should see very regular updates. So hopefully we'll get initial assays out probably Friday, and then perhaps late next week we'll get another batch of assays. Right now there are 6 or 7 holes in the lab. And we have the 2 drills operating. So we should see very good progression of assays now that the turnaround has started to come in. Once we start the drilling on Romanera later in the fall, we'll bring in 1 or 2 more drills, and of course that will continue to accelerate the news flow from that regard. And the other thing that we'll be reporting on very soon will be our deep penetrating EM survey, which we've done, and is giving us some really interesting results. Most importantly, of which it's demonstrating that the mineralization does continue at depth below the existing drilling, which, given all the deposits are open, it shouldn't surprise anybody, but it does actually support that thesis. So.
Okay, David, great. That's all we have for Emerita so far, but there is just a quick question about Noble. So if you can answer this one as well, just an update on the plans of the company moving forward, and is there anything to talk about right now with Noble?
Noble, they're wrapping up the geophysical surveys probably today. Some very interesting follow-up. I think people would have seen the release on the magnetic survey that was done, and that major target and a number of the other targets that were identified. That's been followed up now with IP surveys, and I can say that the IP looks to support what we were seeing in the mag. So there'll be more details coming on that towards the end, either the end of this week or probably the first of next week, I would say, before they get all of the processing done, given that it's just wrapped up today. But we're feeling pretty amped up about what we're seeing there, actually.
Great. So we just had a couple questions. So we are on YouTube as well. So we did get one question from YouTube about Emerita. So Emerita has great Euro, national, and provincial support. What about at the municipal level? Are there any delaying drilling permits in any way?
We have I don't expect any delays at Asnelcoir if and when we finally get that awarded, because the communities there actually were the ones that lobbied to have it put back into production. And when I say lobbied, I mean the local mayor did a hunger strike, that kind of lobbying, like committed lobbying. At IBW, there are 2 municipalities that are involved with the property. Obviously, where Infanta is, that drilling is going ahead. At Romanera, there are actually 4 or 5 different classifications for environmental purposes in Spain for land use. Where Infanta is, it's basically there's no classification, if you will. It means that it doesn't require any kind of EA. Romanera, there are some cork oak trees in that area that require a bit more of an EA. So that all of those documents are filed and are being reviewed by the environmental department. And we've been informed that our application is complete and they don't require anything more from us. The local municipality of Paimogo had asked for further clarification related to that. That's now been received from the junta in Seville. And my understanding is that they are now proceeding with their approval process for that. So it's a bit of a comprehensive bureaucratic process, shall we say, to get permitting done in this area. But once it's done for the life of the license. So it'll be good for 3 years or beyond if the license is renewed. You don't have to do it every time you go for a drill program. So we expect hopefully to be in a position to drill that right after summer. The other holdup that we have in that area is actually weather. Just for safety purposes, if it gets over 40 degrees centigrade for more than a couple of hours, we shut down the drills. And this time of year, that happens more often than you would like.
All right, and there was a quick one from Curtis. He said probably not much of an update because of August shutdowns, but anything on the court proceedings?
Not much new there. The courts are essentially on hiatus through the month of August. We think that probably in September, the announcement for the actual sentencing dates will take place. And our understanding is that the next phase of this process should be fairly brief. There's no more evidence allowed to be entered. There's no further appeals between now and that step. So what we're told is it's 16 people charged. So the actual closing statement part themselves could take a few weeks. And at this point in Spain, we're told it's like 99.9% conviction rate. They really don't go to this level of the trial unless they've already established that the crime was committed. So it's really apportioning the crime and the punishment at this point. And that's all we need. We're really not focused on what happens after that in terms of the sentencing or what the individuals get. We just really want one person convicted, and that disqualifies the other bid by law, and we're the only other bidder, and that allows the junta to move forward and award the tender under the terms of the public tender contracts.
Okay. So that's all we've got for Emerita and Noble. So thanks, David. I know there's usually a lot of questions for you. So we'll move on to SWMBRD, previously Zambezi. So Justin, I see you there. I'll unmute you. Now, just a quick question. So you guys are over in Greece right now, and Greece has gone through one of the worst heat waves in the past 30 years. And there's some disastrous fires over there. So has this impacted the company's progress at all?
Thanks for that, Colton. Obviously, it's a very serious situation. At this time, we are also taking pause to remember that things are pretty serious in British Columbia as well, and have hardly been a cakewalk there. I am very happy to say that despite the seriousness of the situation, things are moving ahead over here at speed. I'm sorry about the slight The Wi-Fi is a bit weak where we are, so kind of forced to locate. We're looking at the strongest signal. The number one, I do appreciate Dave talking about the commodities of the world. Let's remind everyone that the number one commodity in the world is happiness. And I can assure you, and I can assure you all, that in this time, we have quantifiably proved that the product that we are offering unlocks happiness. There are people here from all over the world seeking to escape the depression of COVID. And every single one of them that lays eyes on that board will not let go of it. So I do appreciate the patience of all our investors. We've been somewhat reticent in all of our social media, and the reason is very simple. We don't want to show you in small little bits and bites. We will launch the full thing about 2 to 3 weeks before we list. The reason is obvious. You can't do anything about the good news now. You can't buy the stock. There's no private placement. What we're doing here right now is revolutionary. We have attracted the top talent. We have one of the most unbelievable fitness instructors that you could not have found outside of Greece, languishing in a small village south of Athens, Serenity. A man built like a brick shed house with the most beautiful way of speaking. We will turn this man into a star. We have women, men, children, and we are getting known in Athens. I can assure you all, we are getting very well known. We get bought free coffees and free beers wherever we go. I do appreciate the patience of our shareholders. Zambezi and Elsumba was a huge risk. Will I bet on this nut bar board? Will you bet on the right thing? Be patient with us. The listing is going well. We are proceeding with our attorneys right now in Athens. The process of being able to sell board shares is complex. We start with a Netherlands company that is the adult in the room. Okay, the Netherlands company exerts power over the Greek, the Spanish, the Italian, all the other companies that we all know are a little bit, shall we say, okay. That process is well underway. We may well have very, very modest premises in Athens by the time we come home. We are coming home, I can assure you. But to answer the question, Colton, the conditions have been very difficult and they've had a tremendous disproportionate effect on the psyche of the Greek people. It's been a disaster, an absolute disaster. And that is not to nullify what's happened in Lytton and in British Columbia, which is absolutely catastrophic as well. But it's a disproportionate impact on it. Now, as many of you will appreciate, as David will certainly appreciate, who's in the same heat waves as you too, because it does affect things for sure, is that these countries have gone through 10 years of terrible economic hardship. Now, not to sound hard, but this opens opportunities for Canadian companies coming in who are bringing opportunity, employment, the works. People talk about the difficulty of the Greeks to deal with. That's why we're here. We're here because it is the hardest walnut to crack. I can assure you, if Greece falls, all of Europe will fall. We are now dealing with the hardest nut of them all to crack, the infamous austere resort. And today I can tell you we came back from the sort of second string of the austere resort, and they are gaga for SWMBRD. So these guys will fall, and if they fall, the rest will fall. And if they fall, the Italians will fall, and the Spanish, and the French, and the rest. So thank you all for your enormous patience. Happiness is the number one resource in the world. I wish you all well. And thank you for the question.
Thanks, Justin. And we'll obviously keep you all updated with SWMBRD as it moves along. Okay, so we'll move on here to one of our private companies here, Eagle Bay Resources. We have Steve Minot here representing. So because it is a private company, is there any news regarding Eagle Bay, and how's the effort to take the company public going?
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Colton and Zimtu. Yeah, as answered this question before, news moving forward, Eagle Bay has raised $250,000 in the bank so far with the finances. I have another quarter to wrap up at the close. So we are moving forward. As a private company, there's a lot of, as we call it, ping pong back and forth with lawyers. But the nice thing is to say we are moving forward, and just keep some food for thought as we are still private. I mean, still making some significant movements as acquisitions. We're going to benefit Eagle Bay in a big way as we move forward in the future here.
Perfect, great, thank you. And so again, we'll keep everybody updated with Eagle Bay. You can go to their website, eaglebayresources.com, and check out their projects. So the last set of questions that we have been received would be for core assets. I see Nick here. All right, so the first one here, Core had a news release out last week about the exploration program underway at the Blue property. Are you able to say anything on that news release?
Yes, hello. I'm basically able to reiterate it, I guess, but the take homes of the news release was that we took about 247 samples when we went up to the property there in late July, and we're very happy with what we've been seeing. But right now, those assays are pending at the lab. I would expect to get them back in September at some point. Our VTEM survey now is a little over 90% completed. We've ran into some weather issues up there. Well, not weather issues, just, that's the whole thing when you're working near receding glaciers. You get the cold and the warm air meeting, and it creates a lot of cloud, which is very difficult to work in with helicopter. So anything with helicopters, including airborne surveys, are difficult. You need a perfect day to do them. So pending those assays coming back, we're going to do a geological comp. I'm going to send another group up here at the end of the summer here and do a channel sampling program on some of the larger carbonate replacement pods that we found. And then we're going to start permitting, potentially adding some new drill holes to our permits in preparation for 2022 season.
Okay, and so, I mean, you kind of answered the second question there about the drill program. So that's all we've got for Core. If there are any questions, actually, that's all we've got for all the companies. If there are any questions you have, you can just put them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll allow you to ask those questions. Charles, see you there. Let me just unmute you. You should see something popping up on your screen, Charles, that says unmute. There you go. Go ahead there.
I think it's his sound.
Oh, you know what, Charles? Your audio doesn't seem to be connected here. You're unmuted, but your audio is not working. If you wanted, you could put it in the chat box and we can answer it there. Yeah, it looks like it's just an audio issue there, Charles. I see your. We'll just give you some time to figure that out. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, feel free. All right, not seeing anything. I see you typing away there, Charles, though, so we'll wait. Quick question here from John Rice for Eagle Bay. What are the drill programs planned?
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Drill programs, obviously you would like to get a drill up there. The nice thing with Eagle Bay here, majority of large institutions and funds that I'm speaking with, what they're looking for mainly is resources at the moment. And we have a lot of area where we can continue to do exploration discovery. My plans are, end of September, get up there in a work program. I've just been speaking with the senior geologist actually this morning on that. And then plans for a drill. But the thing to remember here, as much as we like to see a drill, exploration and discovery is a really high demand right now in rare earths, and Eagle Bay has a lot of property in which it can explore. So it's going to benefit us in a big way as we move forward too.
Awesome, perfect. All right, Charles, here we are. So what is your guess at the absolute latest start for the Aries mine?
Well, I wish I could give you a really exact answer, because it's partly out of our hands with the shipping situation. We have an over-enthusiastic equipment supplier telling us 2 months, and a negative shipping company telling us 3.5. If we were to take the negative, I suppose, and add in maybe a month of installation and optimization, then you'd be looking at late this year, early next year would be the time frame. That would be the absolute worst scenario if the shipping company situation doesn't fix itself. It's a two-pronged problem too, because there's a shipping backlog combined with a container shortage, and so that's the main issue on the lumps plant.
Okay, great. Now that's everything we got. John, I have your message here. I'll send you an answer to those. I just don't have it accessed right now. Other than that, though, that's all we have. If anybody has any questions, this is your chance to put in the chat or raise your hand.
Well, folks, thanks for coming. Please remember that we will have another Zoom call coming up shortly. Topic being battery metals. Companies involved would include, who's on that one, Colton? Commerce,
Seville,
Eagle Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, and our favorite, the guy at the end of the table, James, yes.
I didn't get an invite.
Well, you're about to.
You're about to.
We haven't announced this event yet, but we will really shortly, so keep tuned for that. Otherwise, that's it. And Johnny Lambo says, thank you. Solid work, Gower and Larry at Emerita. All right, guys, thanks for coming. And remember, it will be posted on YouTube. And we'll send it to your email as well if you want to watch the recording.
Send it to all your friends and family.